Hey, welcome back to another video on how to replace your brake pads. Today we're going to do brake pad replacement on a 2012 Ford F-150. Just want to say to you guys again, if you watch my other videos on brake pads, it's really easy. It doesn't matter what vehicle you have, they're all pretty much the same. So with that being said, the Ford Motor Company, the dealer, wanted over 680 bucks to do my brake pads on my F-150 for the front and the rear. And I said, go pound sand, and I bought the brake pads at the dealership. So I want to show you guys what that cost me for the front pads and the rear pads. 148 bucks and change. So like I said before, I think it's really important that you guys go buy the original brake pads that came with the car when it's brand new. So don't go to a cheap auto parts store and save yourself 10, 20 bucks. It's worth the extra dollar to go buy the right pads. Okay, so here are some few tools that you'll need to get this job completed in no time. First of all, you're gonna need a wire brush to clean out the areas that you might see some surface rust. It's good to knock it out. You'll need a C-clamp to push back the cylinders. You'll need a 13mm wrench, a flat screwdriver, some Loctite, and a 22mm socket to knock off the bolts on the tires, and of course the brake pads. So again, I'm going to be shooting this in real time so that we'll be done in 15 minutes so that you guys will see that you can do this in 15 minutes with very little skills. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and jack up the car or the truck. Now, if you don't have an air gun, of course, it might take you just a few minutes longer, but... Okay, set that aside. Okay, let's move the camera over here so you can get a better angle and see what I'm doing. Okay, like most brakes, these are the 13mm bolts that you'll need to remove. Just remove the bottom one and then just loosen the top one. Then we're gonna open it up like a clamshell. Okay. Now, just FYI, I already did the other three, so I thought, well, let me just do a quick video and show you guys step by step what I'm doing to get this brake changed out. So once again, take off the bottom bolt, the 13mm, just loosen the top one, then open it up like a clamshell, like this, and it will stay just like that. Okay. In some cases, you may need a bungee cord or some wire ties just to keep it out of the way. Okay. Now, just to let you guys know, on these F-150s, there are two different brake pads. One of them has this little moon shape, little humps like this, which goes on the back, and this one goes in the front. So this is the inner, and this is the outer. And like most brakes, these simply slide out on these tin clips. So see that? It just slides right out. These little grooves sits right there, and you just pull it out. And do the same for the front. And I use a screwdriver just to help get it started. Then you can shake it out. And then these clips right here pops right out. There are 4 clips, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And again, this is why I use a screwdriver, just to knock it out. These aren't too bad. They're not rusty by any means, just a little, maybe a little surface rust, but they're not bad. It's not corroded. And then this is where I take the brush wire and just to knock off some of that surface rust and whatever buildup is in there. A little brake dust, cancerous brake dust, probably has asbestos. Okay, and while I'm in here, I also like to take off these little boots and make sure there's oil, clean oil in there, which in this case it does, and that looks good too. So it's important that just inspect the boots, make sure the boots are not torn, and there's lots of grease in there so that the pin can slide in and out. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and snap these clips in there, and they're pretty self-explanatory. One side has a notch. This always faces out, and this little pin goes on to the rotor. And just clips in. Okay, you can kind of hear it snap in there like that, but these are not snapping in there. It looks like this pin here is maybe I bent them for whatever reason on accident. So let's just bend it back and try to shape it a skosh. Let me get a needle nose. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I just had to bend those back a little bit. I was playing with these earlier and kind of shaped them a little too much. There, so you heard that click. Just make sure these are in there nice and firm. You hear that click and it's not moving around. So you don't want the pads to be moving around as you're driving. That will cause maybe your ABS sensor to behave differently. So that was really the hardest part. Now it's just a matter of taking these brake pads and slide it in. Back's done. And the front one slides right in. So let me give you guys a little better angle here, so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see these tracks, little grooves with where we just put the new pins. You basically got to start the bottom there and the top, and just like that. Okay, now next thing we got to do is, let's see here, get these pistons push back in so they can fit over my new brake pads. Right now they're pushed in because, as you know, as these pads wear down, that cylinder comes out more and more. So let's go and do that. Let me adjust the camera. Sorry for the shaking, but to do this in real time, it's good that you guys see what's going on here. And this is where the C-clamp comes in handy. And oh, by the way, I do have my brake reservoir under the hood open just a little bit because it is a pressurized system. So as I'm squeezing this, it just helps. It just helps to get that cylinder back and its, I guess, housing just a little easier than trying to fight the back pressure. So as you can see it going in there nice and slow. Okay, let's do the other one. Okay, so for the bottom one, looks like this brake hose is in my way. Let's see if I can. Nah, so I'm gonna have to come the other way here like this, which is fine. Okay. So can you guys see that cylinder sucking back into the calipers there? Yeah, you don't need to go too far. And just make sure that when you do this, you're not ruining the boot. There's a rubber boot right here. Just inspect, make sure there's no oil leaking. There's no wet spots, which I don't see any wet spots right now. So this looks really good. So after you got to this point, let's see, you're just simply going to slide this cylinder back in and then slide the caliper over the brakes and make sure it's not binding on anything. Just like that. How easy was that? Now all you gotta do is take that 13mm bolt you just took out, put a little bit of Loctite on there and thread her back in. Okay, let me move the camera one more time here. Okay, beautiful. So looking at my timer right now, since I started this video, since I started taking jacking up the truck, we're at 11 minutes. And these needs to be tightened down to roughly 40 PSI, or not PSI, foot-pounds. Okay. So I know what a 40 foot-pounds feels like, but just for the sake of this video, I got my torque wrench out, and we're going to set this up to 40 foot-pounds. And if you don't know how to use a torque wrench, there are plenty of videos out there that will show you guys how that works. Oops. Okay. All right. And that's all there's to it. And put your wheel back on and you're done. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, please leave me comments down below, and I'll be glad to address any questions that you may have on how to replace your brake pads on a Ford F-150 or any other vehicles for that matter. So again, I'm Brian Pelego with FJ4365. Thanks for watching. Happy trails and God bless. Okay, so one last thing here. It's really important that before you take off, after you do a brake job, you turn the car on and sit there in park or neutral or whatever and pump that brake pedal 5 to 8 to 10 times until you feel a lot of back pressure. It's good. It allows that cylinder to compress against that new brake pads so you got some resistance. If you don't, if you just put in drive or reverse and back out and you hit that brake pedal, you're gonna hit something. You're gonna just take off. It's not gonna stop. So that's why it's important to, again, pump that brake pad, watch in park, and then after you feel some resistance, and then put it in reverse or forward, drive, and then go.